Hello printmakers. I'm going to demo now how to transfer your image from a printout to linoleum block. The main thing I want to note is that the image that I'll be transferring is a reverse of what I hope to print. And you'll also see this has some marks on it already because I tried to record this and my phone cut out, because of course it did. So the short version is that what you're going to do is take your printout that's wrong reading or the opposite of what you hope to print, and you're going to put a layer of graphite or pencil lead on the back. We in the shop have this transfer paper you can use. We have it in red, we have it in white and black. So if you're in the shop when we get to this point, you're welcome to use that. The process will be the same, you just won't have to prep the paper. If you do use the transfer paper, spend a second or two to make sure that when you make marks that you will be pressing down and transferring the side of the paper that has the powder or whatever on it. It's a real bummer to transfer your whole image and realize that you had the transfer paper reversed. So don't do that. Okay, so I've got this. You can see that the image doesn't go all the way to the edges, so I'm not going to do the graphite layer all the way to the edges, and I just worked back and forth. I did one layer in one direction, going really quickly, mostly for this demo, but also you don't need to spend a lot of time on this. Then I did another layer this way, and then I did one horizontally, and then I'll do one vertically. And that will put down a pretty good layer of graphite. The next thing I want to do is I'm going to trim this down to the size of my block, and that means I can just tape it to my block and know where those edges are. And this is helpful later if you need to retransfer your image for some reason. So yeah, I'll just trim this way. And I think I'll leave a little edge on the top, and that'll be the lip that I use to tape it to the block. And I'll leave a lip on the bottom too. Alright, so I'm going to fold this across here. That's the top edge of my print. And I'm just going to hook it on the linoleum like so. Fold it all the way over in the back, and then I'm going to use a little painter's tape or blue tape and tape it in place. You want, once you start this process, you don't want the image to move. So a little tape is helpful in that. Okay, there's one side, get it all lined up, and then I'll wrap it around the bottom side as well. And I have just a little more tape left. Hooray. Okay, so push this there. Okay, you can use this same pencil or whatever you want to trace it. If you have a colored pencil or a colored pen, I find that helpful at this stage because then you can see your process. I'm just going to use this pencil. Whatever you use, you want it to be a nice sharp point so that it'll transfer a good line. And then you're just going to come in here and faithfully trace your drawing. Depending on how you work, you may just want to kind of rough it out and get the main details and then fill in everything by hand. But I find it helpful, especially if this is your first time working in linoleum printing and relief printing, to put as much detail down as possible. If you spend all the time developing this image, you'll have plenty of kind of technical things to be learning as you print, and so having a pretty faithful, accurate copy of the image, I find is pretty helpful. So one of the things that I'm going to change on this image is the shape of the arms. So I'm not going to trace those. I'll maybe sort of draw lines kind of where they are. But I want to change those quite a bit. And then I'm going to change this root a little bit. So I might go ahead and draw that here in my transfer. Ta-da. Tracing my drawing. I'm not crazy about this drawing, but at a certain point you just have to be done and move on. So will this be the best print that I've ever made in my life? Likely not. Am I okay with that? Sure. I'm moving on. Okay, so there's the roots, got that. Right now I'm just tracing the outlines of my image. I'm also going to go back in and trace some of the outlines of the color, and that's when it's really helpful to have your original color study to refer to, because that'll be part of my carving process, and so having that information on the block again, will make the process a little easier later. And this is not written in stone, so if you don't love how something transfers, you can carve it differently, you can redraw it. There's that. So, and I probably should have started early on just to make sure that this was transferring well before I did the whole thing, but I did not. Okay, so there we have it, a faint outline of this. And now I'm gonna draw different arms and kind of reinforce some of these lines. If I needed to later, if I wanted to retransfer this for carving or whatever, I've got the fold marks, and so I would just slot it back on. And so that's a nice way to be able to match it up tightly again. It's just going by where those folds were. Don't throw this away. Wrap it in a sheet of newsprint so the graphite doesn't get everywhere, and keep it in your drawer. All right, so yeah, I'm gonna rework those arms so they're a little more root-like and less human. So that was some of the feedback I got in process critique. And then the next phase will be starting to carve and print. All right, onward and upward, y'all.